I've known reporters who here's one right here, who could grasp a complex situation and understand it immediately and explain it. I've known reporters who could write compelling prose. I've known reporters who had a heart for the downtrodden and a tenderness, and who had a passion for the truth. But I've never known one who I thought had all that wrapped up in one great report, and that was Dwayne. What Dwayne hated most of all was corruption. What he liked to work on was corruption when he was a reporter. He saw corruption in high places right as a personal offense. Nobody was going to get away with it on his watch. He was known to be like Don Quixote, tilting windmills. In fact, when they moved to the farm, Dwayne named his horse Rosie after Rosinante, which was Don Quixote's old nag. Thinking about the farm reminds me of Dwayne's joy and his daughter Libby and her menagerie of pets, and his pride in his son Chip, Dwayne Jr. Dwayne liked to teach Chip the things that fathers teach sons. It's worth noting that, Joe, you might remember this, when Chip caught his first fish, he was about 4 years old, and Dwayne took to the taxidermist. It was a brim. Oh man, he must have been that big. Dwayne was more proud of him, I think, than Chip was. Dwayne had a special passion for young reporters too. As you heard, when he got to be a writing coach and a teacher, he found that to be the most rewarding work that he had ever done. He was thrilled by the success of his charges. Bonnie Rodman wrote a nice obit. Is she here? In the News and Observer the other day. But it did mention one thing about Dwayne that I had never noticed. And it said he was gruff. I always thought Dwayne was as gentle as a passing cloud. I know he said things like, "Damn it, Tim," and so forth. But that was in love. Dwayne was not a gruff person. I was with him a lot. And I was even with him sometimes when we did writing coaching in newspapers. Never saw him lose his temper. He would use words like "damn it, Tim" once in a while to make his point. But he was a gentleman. In fact, I often wondered how a person as gentle as Dwayne could win a football scholarship as a defensive lineman, as he did. And then one night, I played air hockey with him. And I found out that when he wanted to, he could turn on the aggression. But in my experience, that was rare. And that's because I never challenged him to another game of air hockey. I've been immersed in thoughts about Dwayne, what I was going to say tonight. One thing that occurred to me in the last couple of days was, in about maybe 30 years in my life, I spent a lot of time with Dwayne. Fishing, two people, riding along in a car, riding on horses, riding on fences. I can't remember a single minute of boredom. Dwayne had a great sense of humor, and he was interesting. He could turn a phrase in conversation just as he could on paper. I thought about some Walls-isms that I thought I might share tonight, and I thought of a lot of them, but I would mention two. One is, Dwayne told me one time when I first became an editor, there is one unforgivable sin in editorial. Marcy, you know what it is? Monotony. I'm sure it was monotony. And he was the first person that told me, described talk radio as a grand exercise in shared ignorance. I want to mention two things in closing. that you always hear about somebody after they passed away. And the first one is that the dearly departed was not just a nice fellow, he was one of the sweetest, smartest, most creative, funniest guys who ever lived. If you want some compliments, dying will get them for you. There's nothing to raise a person's esteem in the minds of his peers like death. But I tell you that in Dwayne's case, there's no need for inflation, no need for polish. All of us who knew him knew when he was living that he was unique. He was like that 1 in 1,000 rifle that comes flawless from the factory, or that great car that if you're lucky you get it because everything is perfect and it works just right. That's the way Dwayne was as a reporter and as a human being. And the other tired old saying about the newly dead is, well, he's in a better place. Dwayne had a father who was a part-time preacher, but who in other areas of his life was a profound disappointment to his son Dwayne. And that's why Dwayne left home at the age of 15, went to live at the funeral home. And why his relationship with the Lord was skewed for much of his life. But I know, based on a prayer that Dwayne and I shared in one of his lucid moments a couple of years ago, that Dwayne is in a better place. So don't worry about Dwayne. He's all right.